Hello and welcome to Yahusha's Call with yours truly, Myra Waiters. I'm taking time, you see the dark background. Normally what you would see would be a scenery, but we're going to do something different today because I'm not wearing the right colors, they said. But I thought maybe that's okay too because this is a very serious presentation. So I invite you to listen, get your Cephers, your Bibles, your Apocrypha, Pseudepigrapha, get your word out there. Just lay it out because we may hit on a few things from each one. I'm going to call this series The Plan of the Ages. The Plan of the Ages. And why I'm doing that is because we are going to be talking about a lot of different subjects. So I'm going to try to be as concise as possible, but lend an ear. Lend an ear, because I believe what I'm going to be teaching and talking and prophetically speaking about is not only affecting your lives, Yahsarel, now, it will be affecting you from here forward. So this is very serious. Get your pens, get your paper out. Don't take this as entertainment. It is not entertainment. It is the last of the last time, and we must take these things seriously. Again, the plan of the ages. And we will continue to enforce and to preach and to teach and to prophetically proclaim the word of Yah in its season. All right. With that, let us go to Genesis, 3rd chapter, 13th through the 15th verse. And then we will also go to verse 20. And Yahuwah Elohim said unto the woman, What is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And Yahuwah Elohim said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. And Adam, on the 20th verse, says, called his wife's name Eve. And Adam called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. I want to talk to you about the plan of the ages. And I want to underscore the things that are going on in this earth as I speak, things that have gone on before, and things that will be coming in the future. You see, there was a great plan. And I want to get into this part of the plan of Yahuwah, because right now the suffering, the debauchery, the killings, the hatred that is going on now, that we are experiencing as a people. They need to be addressed as to give you confidence in understanding what not only Yah is doing, what his plan is, but how you are to conduct and be as a person of faith in Yahusha. The plan of salvation, the plan of redemption of the people of Yahuwah. Why such hatred? Why such intolerance of others, especially those of the dark hue or Yahsarelites? But all are not, of course, Yahsarelites, but those who we know are Yehudis and the scattered tribes. We know who we're talking about here. And those who choose to put their faith in the one Yahuwah and his messenger, savior, redeemer, his Yahusha. There was a promise at this very same time that the curse was going on. There was a promise. And the promise was to the woman. The promise of the eon, the promise of many thousands of years from that point, was, of course, that there would be sent Messiah. But there's also some underlying things here that I want to share with you, Yehudi and Yahsarelites. I want us to start saying Yahsarelites because Yah's going to bring really all of us together under one eventually anyway, so don't want to leave you out. Sometimes I've gotten some mail that says, don't leave us out. We're all Israelites, so let's not separate so much. All right. Why is the woman of Yah or the people of Yah so ostracized? Well, Eve, being the mother of all living, inside of each original black melanated person, or woman I should say, is an X chromosome. And this X chromosome is different than other different nations. Why? Because we have the keys of life. It was given to us. You can read it here in the 20th verse. We are the mothers of the living. Well, don't think Satan doesn't know that. Don't think he doesn't understand this explicitly. This has been the animosity. This has been the hatred of our people from day one. This has been the hatred of our women from day one. Within us, we can have every nation. We can birth every nation. Comes from that first melanated woman called Eve. In the understanding that Satan himself had, that through this woman was going to come redemption. Through this woman was going to come one that would take his world from him, flip it upside down, take it back from him who took it by debauchery and deceit from Adam and from Eve. Oftentimes you wonder why we are talked down so low, why our own men have talked and used words to describe us that are so demeaning. Oftentimes we have suffered more than any other female people practically on the face of the earth. It's because there is an enmity. We are at odds. We are foes. The problem is Satan is understanding that, but our women don't. And I'm here to give you knowledge, to let you know, to be on guard and to watch, because this plan of Yah will take us through it. But if you're ignorant to it, It will destroy you. It will defeat you. It will maim you. It will harm you. I want to go to Judges, and I will come back. Judges 16, 3rd through the 5th verse. And I want to bring the male into this scenario too. Because here we have a woman who is going to be hated and demised and demeaned from this time on. And not just any woman, the mother of life, the melanated woman. Then we're going to bring in Samson. Samson represents our men. Yes, he represents our men. Our men that choose to go outside of Yahsarel and select wives. And before I get into this deeper, I want you to know I'm not a prejudiced person whatsoever. I have other races of people in my family, so I'm not that way. But I have to give you the truth so that you can decipher right from wrong. So understand that. In Judges 16, 3-5, it says, "And Samson lay till midnight and arose at midnight and took the doors of the gate of the city and 2 posts and went away with them, bar and all, and put them upon his shoulders and carried up to the hill, to the top of an hill, came up unto her." Who is her? Let's find out who her is. "And said unto her, Entice him and see wherein his great strength lieth," right? "And by what means we may prevail against him." So first we read, and I did take a verse out of there, forgive me. First we read that there's this very strong, gifted, set-apart spirit is upon him, Samson, who for some reason in his person just loved to go after strange women. That was his weakness. And eventually, of course, we know it became his demise. But I want to bring in Delilah, because she was the one who was enticing him for money, and I'm sure there's some more to that, to find out where his strength lies. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. "And by the means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him. And we will give thee, every one of us, 1,100 pieces of silver." Now you see, our strength, as it were, is that we are the people of the Most High, that we have a connection, a spiritual connection to the Creator of all things. When we came into the knowledge of who we are, we inherited things that we didn't even know we had. We were already involved in talent. We were already involved with strength and fortitude. But it was almost as if we didn't understand why we had it. We didn't understand it. Well, I'm letting you know, you have something so valuable. You have a strength so valuable until seems everyone knows it but you, Yehudi or Yahsarel. You have the black woman. You have the woman of life. Oh, I know it sounds off, but we are your treasure. And everything in this earth seems to be trying to break that up. And in many, 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 many cases, it has done just that. Let me go a little further and tell you a little bit more about this Philistine woman named Delilah. So you can get in your mind who she is. First of all, let's look at the word Philistine, because Delilah was a Philistine. Samson was a melanated brother. What is a Philistine? Let's look. Where is it? It's the area contained in 5 cities. The Pentapolis of the Philistine Confederacy, which was Gaza, Ascalon, sounds like Eskenazi, Ascalon, Ashdod, Gath, and Ekron. It was known as Philistia, or the land of the Philistines. It was from this designation that the whole of the country was later called Philistines by the Greeks. When people use the term Philistine person, they refer to it as a man or woman of smugly narrow mind and of conventional mortality, whose materialistic views and tastes indicated a lack of and an indifference to cultural and aesthetic values. All right, I'm going to get a little further into these Philistines so you can understand why our Samsons need to avoid at all costs this, what they call it, this wave that just come upon us of these inner mixings and inner marriage. If you can marry anybody you want, but if you're a Yehudi, if you're a Yahsarelite, you must be distinct and very distinctive on who you marry or who you hook up with, and hopefully it's marriage, because we don't believe in anything outside of that. Anyway, let's move on. Well, Philistines were a fierce adversary of the Hebrew Israelites. And I wanted to bring you up into the modern day time, and let's talk about them, their DNA. Now, DNA sequencing of 10 Palestine skeletons, or Palestine skeletons, suggests they really were a genetically distinct people. They were genetically distinct from our community, the Hebrew Israelite community. Around 1200 BC, in at least one key Philistine city, there was an influx of South European genes, suggesting a surge of Greek immigrants to the region, says Michael Feldman of the Max Planck Institute of Science of Human History in Jena, Germany. The Bible's Old Testament makes numerous references to the Philistines. For instance, Goliath, the giant who fought David, he was a Philistine, as probably was Delilah, who betrayed Samson. It doesn't matter whether this person is a Caucasoid or a Filipino or East Indian. It's not a racial thing. This is a faith. This is also DNA thing that we must keep our bloodline as pure as we can now that it's already been mixed to the hilt. Every time we take our seed and we produce something other, we are weakening our seed, is what I'm saying. We are weakening us as a people. You don't think so? You don't think the enemy knows who you are? You don't think all of these advertisements on television and all this, all of a sudden this mixed up family is not on purpose for a reason? You don't think CERN who is actually trying to get into the melanated, they call it dark matter? Dark matter matters because it's what? It's melanated. It's melanin. You don't think that the populations are being demised because the heat and the circumference of this earth is warming up, so that it's going to be difficult for those who have not melanated to even live or survive. I know it's harsh, but it's true. We have people found with their organs out. We have people snatching our children. We have people taking us into hospitals and experimenting on us. We have these things going on now. Often we're given things that we don't even know what they're doing to us. But one thing about it, you must be aware. You must be aware. And you must be aware that not all people are the same. There are different species on this earth. Oh, yes, they are. We're going to get into more of that on the next program. But let's go on. It says, I want you to go to Revelation 9, 2-6, called the tormentors. I call it the tormentors. Why? Because it says in the second verse, and he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose the smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and upon them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. They were venomous. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass and the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only men, which have not the seal of Yah in their foreheads. That's the elect. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee them. We've already started seeing some of these things come to pass. Let me just give you a few examples of some of the creatures that have been evolving to be. When you see a word like scorpions, or you see a word like locusts, what you have to understand is it's the attributes. Locusts come in many. They come as many, and they devour. When you see scorpion, just don't stop and just see the little curly tail of a scorpion. You've got to understand that creature has venom, and that the venom of that stinger is very painful. All right. When you understand that, then you can understand why all of a sudden our oceans are filling up with jellyfish with stingers. Why all of a sudden we're finding creatures that we thought were extinct, and now they're back and they're venomous. Have you heard of the pus caterpillar? Look it up on your internet, or look it up and find out the pain that it causes people. Find out that some of these extinct venomous snakes, they're starting to rise in numbers like locusts, poisonous things that are coming upon this earth, and they are harming men. Be aware that there are other species of persons that are in disguise, and we're going to get into that on the next program. Be aware that there have been giants on this earth, and perhaps still are, because after the floods, the scriptures say, and they were even after the flood, that the Nephilims did exist, which were the offspring of those fallen angels that had eyes or lust for the women of the earth. And Yah allowed them to kill each other off. Read about it. I'm not able to give you every little documentation. You must be a studier and take what I'm telling you and go into it. Then you have to understand from Nephilim were the Neanderthals. Neanderthals are real, cave-dwelling type peoples that had been here as a species on this earth. Then you'll have to understand there were troglodytes. Troglodytes, we'll get into it on the next program. We'll pick up in here. And there were dog-headed men. And there were headless men. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but let me explain to you something before we stop this broadcast. Spirits are able to shape shift. I know that word is something they're throwing around a lot, but it's a true word. It is happening. It has happened. And that's how the angels were able to get a body that would have sperm in it to create an offshoot from them, the giants, the Nephilim. That's how much of the DNA that was used to make these workers, these Neanderthals, mixed in with dog or wolf, I should say, and a monkey, which they used, what do you call it, splicing of the DNA to create something other than what Yah had created. The world was wicked at the flood. So much of that was going on, and so much of that, as in the days of Noah, is going on today. They're freezing embryos. Now they want to freeze people. Really, you're not going to escape by getting frozen. You're not going to escape by trying to freeze your embryos and your sperms and your eggs and all of this. This is an abomination before Yah, and it won't save you. Those of you who feel that you must do this. And all of the caves you're building and all of the underground habitats you're building and all of the places of internment you think you're building for us. We know about that too. This won't work because you're up against a force that is greater than you are. Your strongest weapons. He is Yahuwah. He is the mighty one, the King of glory. And when we come back, I'm going to start back with troglodytes and explain to you who they are and what they are and go from there. Don't miss, because without this knowledge, you're going to be at a disadvantage. I hope and pray you will come back for series number 2. See you then. Bye-bye.